New York, big city of dreams. New York, big city of dreams.
Seems like it's not streaming. Hmm? What's going on? This is Jay Ellis from the Nick of Time show. Here giving you that Knicks talk just in the nick of time. And we're here to talk about some Knicks news for you guys. So let's just get to it, man, because it's been a while. It's been a while since we talked Knicks. So let's get some Knicks news. Before we get into the Knicks news, I'm going to introduce you to my guys. First and foremost, it's the man, the myth, the legend, the guy with stats and facts.
Ryan G's in the building. I know I've been away for a while. Glad to be back. I took that Stephen A. kind of break, but I'm glad to be back.
Yes, fine. Chad's been asking for you. Where's Ryan G? Where's Ryan G? Well, he's back there, man. He's back.
Yes, sir.
All right. And of course, you already know it is our guy, the Latin assassin, the Escobedo. What's going on, Lee?
What's up, family? Very happy to have Ryan G back. The team isn't the same without him. So I'm glad that you brought both the stats and the facts. Also want to give a great rest in peace to my favorite actress of all time, the great Gina Rollins, who passed away yesterday.
Rest in peace, Gina Rollins, and welcome back. Stats and the facts, man. Let's get to it. All right. Knicks schedule dropped today. And there is a lot to talk about. And one of the things that we want to talk about is the start of the schedule, because the start of this Knicks schedule seems a little bit rocky. We have 10 games. Our first 10 games are against winning teams with winning records. And we're playing against teams that we are pretty familiar with, like the 76ers and the Indiana Pacers. Also in January, we have Isaiah Hartenstein returning to the Garden. Christmas, we have Wembanyama versus the Knicks. I'm guessing the NBA is trying to replicate that duel that Jaylen Brunson and Wembanyama had when Brunson had his 60 and Wembanyama was going off. And then in April, the Knicks have a tough schedule in April as well to look out for, where we play a lot of the top teams in the East once again. So it seems like the Knicks, to start, will have a hard path to get going, but there are some soft spots in the schedule as well. I want to get your thoughts on what you guys think of the schedule. And we can start with you, Ryan G, because I heard you kind of chattering about it behind the scenes. I know you got some thoughts on it.
Yeah, definitely if you compare this season's schedule to last season, definitely easier schedule. It's not as difficult as last season. I think the two main things that stand out to me is in the first 10 games, 7 of those on the road. And like you said, they're against winning teams, mainly against teams in the East that the Knicks are going to be contending with, or at least you expect them to contend with going toward the playoffs toward the end of the season. So, so when the season starts, the Knicks are going to be able to gauge how good they are, because they'll be going against some really good teams, like start the season against the Celtics, then Pacers, Cavaliers, Heat, all teams that you expect are going to be in the mix later on in the season. And then I think also in the schedule, what also stands out to me is March as well. March looks like it's going to be a tough schedule because the Knicks are going to have a West Coast trip, and a lot of those games are going to be on the road against some tough opponents as well. So those are the two things that stand out to me. But compared to last season, it's an easier schedule, and I do expect this team to, especially when they're fully healthy, I expect them to do some damage.
I guess for me is, how healthy will they be? Because I was looking at some news from Ian Begley a little bit earlier, and he was kind of giving a couple of updates on the injury reports, and I can kind of breeze through them for you guys real quick. And I'll kind of start off with Julius Randle, right? Because Julius Randle, you always know, has been rehabbing that shoulder. Everything we've heard has said that he's doing really well. So they don't expect him to be here or be healthy rather for training camp, but they do expect him to be healthy for the start of the season. So it says it right here. Also on the injury front, reported last month that Julius Randle's rehab from right shoulder surgery was going very well. Randle underwent surgery in early April. The Knicks at the time said Randle would be reevaluated in September. Based on other timelines for shoulder surgery, it would be surprising if Randle were ready for the start of the training camp. But if everything progresses well, he should be back on the court for the Knicks October 22nd for season opener. So we could be looking at a situation where it's a little bit of a rust from Randle. So that's something to look out for. Also, Mitchell Robinson as well. Mitch Robinson is also rehabbing his surgically repaired injury from the season. Robinson had surgery in mid-May to repair a stress injury to his ankle. As of earlier this week, Robinson has not yet been cleared for high-intensity weight-bearing activities during his rehab, per people familiar with the matter. So Robinson has to clear several hurdles before he gets clearance to fully participate in training camp. So Robinson's status for training camp is murky, which is a big deal. And Jaylen Brunson too, I'm not sure what his thumb is like. It seems like he'll be ready for training camp. Brunson had surgery, so he might be ready for training camp according to this. It seems to me like he'll be ready for training camp. Brunson had surgery in mid-May to repair his broken left hand. During a celebration of his captaincy last week, Brunson didn't have any visible restrictions on his left hand. All right. So there you have it. It seems like Brunson should be a go for training camp, but Randle and Mitch might not be ready for training camp, but Randle should be ready for the start of the season. I don't know. Does that have any bearing on how you guys see the start of the season for us?
Not at all. I'm going to jump out the window. I am feeling very good about where we will be once the season starts. Joey, we have already shown that we can play, not just play, we can win and win a lot with Julius Randle not suited up. If he needs to be ramped up incrementally, if the minutes start out slow, OG Anunoby can slide into that 4 spot. Dante DiVincenzo slides into the 2, and now you have the new glue and Mikal Bridges along with either Mitch and Sims and, of course, Captain Jaylen Brunson. So I have no fear. As long as we are 85 and 90% healthy, I actually think we're going to steamroll through the first 3 months of a season. We have about 30 games, and of those 30 games, I'm looking at the schedule, I count maybe 6 to 8 losses. And the reason I feel that way is the addition of Mikal Bridges. Our depth on the perimeter, we have a ton of very big, long, switchable wings for the first time in my fandom. We also have defense at the point of attack. Dante, Hart, and Bride are all above average defenders in that regard. You put all those elements together, the only thing that worries me are stretch centers that cause our 5 holes for pick and pop opportunities at the KPs, the Jokers, the Embiids. That's really the only thing right now I think that hasn't been solidified. And Precious Achiuwa and Jericho Sims are going to have to show us they can either be that guy or one or both could be shipped out before a trade deadline. But otherwise, it's all about health. And if we go into the first game of the season against the Boston Celtics and we're 85% or healthier, I think we're going to come out on top and an immediate contender once the season starts.
The thing is, I feel like we might see small ball lineup from the rip. That's what it's looking like. Because if Mitchell Robinson isn't really healthy, we might start the season with Precious Achiuwa at the 5. And we also might see more Julius Randle at the 5 or Sims. Who knows? Tom Thibodeau is going to really have to play with that lineup without Mitchell Robinson. So I'm curious to see how that works out. I definitely can see Precious and Sims getting a lot of early looks the first few games of the season to see how this meshes. But I'm with Lee. I don't know if It's funny because I still feel like we're gonna be around that 50 win mark. The health to me still might keep us from going all the way 60 or 55, like everybody else might be thinking. But I still feel like we'll be in good shape to be number two in the East or so. That's the way I see it.
Go ahead and fire up the drills before I pass the
Hot
rock.
take, you already. It would not be KOT if Lee didn't have a hot take and jump out the window in preseason.
Yep, 60 burger. It's coming. I predict 62 to 63 wins. Number 1 in the East. Number 2 overall after the OKC Thunder. Call him.
I don't. Ryan G looks surprised. And Ryan G, I don't know why you're surprised.
I mean, by now, no, Lee. Like we don't do the hot take. You know, last year was the 50 burger, which the Knicks almost hit. Like they were like right there, and now 60 burger. I know this. I know Lee by now. Like I already know this is coming from him. So I already know what to expect.
Best believe the season after next, Lee's gonna have a 70 burger prediction. All right.
If we win the championship, 82 burger. Let's go.
82 burger.
We gotta win that shit, man. I'm feeling the spirit.
Oh man. Oh
Yeah.
man. That's the thing. The thing is, to win the chip, you don't necessarily have to win 60 games, 50 games to win the chip. You just have to be healthy at the right time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, most definitely, and I think that's what's going to be most important for this team. As for me, looking at Julius Randle possibly being back, without a training camp, and Mitchell Robinson with the multiple hurdles he has to get over before he's able to participate in training camp as well. I do think compared to last season, Knicks are more equipped to deal with injuries. And last season Knicks did pretty well despite multiple guys being out.
Mhm.
So I think I agree with Lee. As long as the Knicks are like 85, 90% healthy, I think they should still do well. The Knicks can go some games without Julius Randle playing his best, or if Mitchell Robinson is taking some time to get back into the groove of the game as well. So I do expect the Knicks to get off to a pretty decent start. I do know traditionally under Thibs, the Knicks do take a while to rev up, and start reeling off wins. But I do expect the Knicks to start better than they have these past few seasons with the roster that they have. And I think with the addition of Mikal Bridges, they'll be more equipped to have a good start this season. And you already know once it goes towards that middle mark and Thibs team starts to get rolling. If the Knicks are in a good spot by then and the health is there, I mean, the 60 burger is possible.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say one more thing, and I think this is key too. Is that we can bank on that OG and Mitch are both going to miss time, right? They're both very injury prone players. That's not a knock on their character or their play. They were two vital starters for us as well, keys to our defense. But if you can't count for 60 games of OG and 60 games of Mitchell Robinson, that to me is enough over the course of the regular season and playoffs for us to win this championship. It means that by committee, Precious and Sims, I think Sims will start in all opportunities where Mitch is not playing, because I think Tibbs really lights Precious off the bench. And then eventually there's an overlap in a rotation where they're on the court together, because the plus minus is always show on off. Those two play really well in all 2, 3, 4, and 5-man combinations. So I think that's going to be the key. 60 games from OG, 60 games of Mitch Robinson. If you can get that with Bridges being able to slide down to the 3, play some 4 as a first second option at the bench unit, man, we're cooking. We had depth.
You think Sims is going to start over Precious?
Yes. I think we saw that when Hartenstein and Mitch was out, Sims would typically be the starter. Even if he only played 5 minutes, he would start him. And then so that repetition of Precious, knowing what his role is coming off the bench, that seemed to be Tibbs' MO, juggling those minutes.
That is true. But I feel like there was a time when, you know what, it depends on how Sims plays too. Because I do feel like there was a time where he was playing so bad that he put him back on the bench. Because you're right, he was playing for 5 minutes. But I think that after a while, he was digging us in such a hole. They was like, you know what? We're you're just not we're not starting with you anymore. We're starting with straight Precious. But I expect Sims to play better this year. Damn it, he's healthy for the first time in his career as a Knick. He's been working in the offseason hard. He's been shooting jumpers with his left and right hand in practice. It's kind of crazy. Somebody pointed it out to me on Twitter. How he was shooting turnaround jumpers over his left and right shoulder, but he's also shooting ambidextrously. Kind of crazy. Yeah, I expect Sims to play better this year. And I think he's going to get his opportunity with Mitch being out. Anybody... And you know what, too, guys? This first game back versus the Boston Celtics, it has a little bit of juice to it. I kind of wish we were full strength for this game because the game that we're playing is going to be in Boston. They're going to be raising the banner. The fans and stuff are going to be amped up and crazy because they're going to be raising the banner. There's been a lot of chatter between Knicks fans and Celtics fans on Twitter talking about how we played the Knicks and wouldn't have gone that way. And the last time we played you, we smacked you. So I feel like the fans themselves are going to be into that first game. But I think emotionally, the Knicks and the Celtics might be revved up to play that first game. What do you think about having to play the Celtics first while they're hanging a championship banner in Boston?
Well, to me, I see that as the game where the Knicks set the tone from early because you know for a fact you're one of the better teams in the East. You know for a fact that more than likely it's going to be you, the Celtics, and the Sixers that's going to be battling for those top 3 spots in the East. And more than likely, you're the 3 teams that's going to be fighting for a championship, or at least to get to the NBA Finals from the East. And the fact that it's in Boston, ring night.
Yeah.
Bringing up the banner, you already know emotions are going to be high on both sides. If the Knicks want to set a tone for the season and send a message early, that's the perfect game to do it because you're going against the champions and they're home. And if you can come out and win that game, you're setting a tone from early, and you letting the Celtics know that we're here and we're coming to challenge you. And last year, you had that easy run to the Eastern. You had easy run to the NBA Finals last year. This year, it's not going to be the same. You're going to have to contend with us. So I think that game's going to be important for the Knicks. Set the tone early, going to Boston, and win that game.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I feel like Tatum's going to be up for it, too. Because Tatum was just benched in FIBA, right? He was benched. So he's going to have something to prove. Everybody's gonna have something to prove. Derek White didn't really play. We have why am I forgetting his name right now? Who got left off the Olympic team altogether? Jaylen Brown got left off the Olympic team altogether. So there's gonna be fuel on both sides of the fire. And then man, they still have to stop Jaylen Brunson too. Because I'm pretty sure Jaylen Brunson was like, yeah, I can get whatever I want against these guys. So bring it on. So I'm really, really hyped to see how this season starts. We actually started against the Celtics the season before, too. But it was in New York. It was in New York.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan, man. It's not, to me, it goes even beyond making a statement. This is something I think the front office really wants to win. That Mikal Bridges trade was all about matching the Celtics' firepower on the perimeter and saying, not only can we equal point for point, we can lock y'all down better than you can lock us down. And I really think that's going to be a game. It's going to take a miracle for Julius Randle not to play. You know Randle's amped up. He's pissed he wasn't able to help his teammates in the playoffs. You know he wants to play in that Boston game to show we are not only a contender, we might even be the favorites if we can blow the socks off of them at home after they raise that banner. There's so many statements being made with that kind of win. And I think this Knicks team is built specifically, roster-wise, to contend and eventually beat the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice case study to see where we match up. For sure. To see how Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby end up locking down the two Boston's best wing offensive players in the league. So it's going to be a feat. And I can't wait. I can't wait. I hope we're 100% healthy so we can really, really see how things go down. But I can't wait for that season opener. For real.
Do you know if Porzingis is going to play that game or will he still be out?
I'm not sure. I saw there was an update on his injury status like a month ago. I don't remember exactly what that was because I'm not a Celtics fan. But I'm not sure what the status is of Porzingis's injury. And
If he doesn't play, I think we win by 20. To me, he is their X factor against us. He's the only player on that roster we can't stop. We don't have the players to stop him unless Jericho Sims takes a huge leap forward as a perimeter defender. I just don't think we have the manpower to stop his 7'3" build, being able to shoot threes like off rip. In transition pull-ups. That we just don't have the roster for that. But everything else, I think we can neutralize. But you know what? I'm not afraid no smoke. I hope KP plays, and I hope that Tibbs throws a kitchen sink at him.
Shout out to Fritz who says Porzingis isn't expected to be there for the start of the season. Not surprising. But shout out to the chat, man. Shout out to Anthony D, who's hyped. He's definitely hyped. I see you, Anthony D. Definitely hyped for the Knicks to play the Celtics in the start of the seasons. Shout out to Keith Watkins who says greetings from ATL. Shout out to Felicia Lee. Says Tibbs teams always get off to slow starts and pick it up after Christmas. That's for sure. Also, it just might be a coincidence that we've kind of been injured last season. That contributes to the slow start. Between injuries and team trades, it usually helps us has us off to slow starts in general. So we might have a little bit of a slow start again, but like you said, Lee, I think we'll be fine by the end of the season. The team I'm really most worried about actually without Big Mitch is probably maybe the 76ers. To me, that's like the most glaring matchup. I feel like we need Mitch for the 76ers. I'm not really Paul George and those guys. I still feel like we match up pretty well. But who knows? Maybe with Julius Randle, we'll still be able to do something kind of funky and play some. I don't know. Play some Julius at the 5. Play some OG at the 5. I don't know. Maybe Tibbs do some weird mixing and matching there.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, before Julius Randle got hurt, that game against the Sixers where the Knicks blew out the Sixers by I think 30-something or whatever the case may be, I think Julius Randle played bad in that game, and the Knicks were still able to dominate the Sixers, and that was with Embiid on the court as well. But the thing is that for that game we had iHeart because Mitch already got hurt, and without Mitch, like you said, Knicks don't really have an answer for Embiid, and I can't really see Randle being the answer at the 5 either because Mitch is really the only guy that we have that can at least slow down Embiid to a degree. You know, so I see that as a troublesome matchup as well if Mitch is not healthy. And overall, I mean, to be honest about it, like the Sixers, I do think the Knicks are going to beat the Sixers, but the Sixers are better than what a lot of people think when you look at their roster. So it's a team that I think that we have to watch out for besides the Celtics. But yeah, if Mitch is not healthy against that Sixers team, it's going to be really tough for the Knicks to beat them, to be honest.
You know what I will say? Joel Embiid traditionally, to start the season, is slow and out of shape. I will say that. I don't think he's ever started the season in shape. And shout out to Anthony D. He said, did you see Embiid in the Olympics? Embiid in the Olympics kind of he stayed true to who he was. Out of shape, slow, out of sync. So that's the only thing I will say. We might not get the best Embiid to start the season. He uses the start of the season to get in shape, which is why I feel like he's always injured towards the end of the year because I don't think he takes care of his body enough during the season. So that's the only thing I will say. That we might have to actually factor that in. That might be actually a tip towards us. So Something to look out for.
I'm not terribly. I'm gonna disagree with Ryan on this one. I'm not terribly scared of Philadelphia. I agree that they got better offensively, without a doubt. Especially better pieces around Embiid that are more catch and shoot, and less guys have to be on ball in order to score. But defensively, I think they got weaker. Losing Tobias Harris, who's a butt of many jokes, I think he has had maybe the worst contract in the NBA over the last couple of years. Him and Batum were crucial in finishing game lineups to be switchable on the perimeter. That was one of the keys to their defense. They lost both those guys. They also lost two guys that were key during the season, but didn't have it in the playoffs, and Robert Covington, who's still a free agent, and he lost to Anthony Melton to the Warriors. Those four defenders were their best four defenders. Now it's going to rely a lot on Paul George at 35 and Kelly Oubre, who had a great series against Brunson, but struggled against our bitter wings when OG was in the game. It's going to be up to those guys to play majority of minutes defending our plethora of Devo, Hart, OG, and Bridges, and Randall this time around. So I think we have the edge offensively, and I think they've lost an edge defensively.
Yeah.
They lost Harris, but they re-signed Batum though. If I remember correctly, they did re-sign him.
No, they didn't resign. They didn't resign
To the
Batum.
Clippers. He went back to the Clippers.
Yeah, Batum is gone. Batum is gone.
100%.
Yeah.
Harris went to Pistons, and Anthony Melton went to Golden State.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know about Melton and Harris, unless I misread something.
They got Eric Gordon. They got Lowry back.
Mm-hmm.
Got Oubre. They got Andre Drummond, another weak link defensively.
Right. It's like Andre might be something off the. I mean, defensively he's a weak link. He's a rebounding guy. I think Andre Drummond might be a bad matchup for us, considering how the depth we have at center. Eric Gordon is a decent backup. There's still holes everywhere else, really. Like their starting four can't really hang with Randall. If we have our full starting five, our bench, I still feel like overall be better than their bench outside the center position. So I still feel like healthy matchup for matchup, I still feel like we're a really good place versus the 76ers personally.
Agreed.
And yeah, losing Batum was huge to me.
Yep, I agree. They also got Caleb Martin from Miami.
Oh yeah, well that's a big pickup.
Solid offensively, but Brunson cooked him on pick and roll switches. So
Exactly. And Caleb Martin is even so. Like he was so last year with Miami, but they was going through something. So who knows? Hold on a second though. $49.99 super chat from Knicks Nation. You couldn't give us that 1 penny. I'm playing. Shout out to Knicks Nation TV, who says 60 burger and Embiid ain't he. Just a big clown. Let's go Knicks. I'm with you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man. Definitely appreciate that.
That's what you call a 50 burger right there. 1 cent short, but still a 50 burger.
Still a 50 burger. The 50 burger predicting the 60 burger. All right, I'll take it. Yeah, man. I agree with you. Now, what about this Christmas matchup with Wembanyama? You know what's funny? I think I'm looking more forward to the OKC matchup. How about you guys?
I mean, to be honest, we were even talking about in the chat. I don't understand. To me, it's a weird Christmas matchup to really put the Knicks up against the Spurs, because typically I would think, a Christmas matchup is, usually you put teams up against each other that are rivals or teams that might be competing for something, in the same conference or whatever the case may be, or teams that are like, across conferences, whatever the case may be. But it's like the Knicks versus the Spurs, and with the Spurs, because it's like the Knicks are going to be one of the top contenders in the East, but the Spurs are going to be a team that, like, I don't know what to really expect from the Spurs next season. They might be a team hovering in that play-in spot going into next season or whatever the case may be. So it's like to have a match where it's not a rivalry. One team is going to be contending while the other team is still building up their roster to compete. I don't get the reasoning behind putting the Knicks versus the Spurs for a Christmas matchup, honestly. I mean, I understand last season Brunson had a hell of a game against the Spurs and Wembanyama went off as well. But to me, I don't know, to me, it doesn't make sense for a Christmas game, honestly.
I agree. To me, it made more sense to do Knicks Indiana or Knicks 76ers.
Yeah.
To me, those are the obvious choices. I don't get that either. But like you said, I think they're trying to recreate that magic with Wemby versus Brunson. But it wasn't really like a real rivalry. But I don't know. That's a weird pick for me too.
You guys are forgetting something. It's a rematch of a 1999 finals. Last time Knicks were in the finals, we lost to the San Antonio Spurs in 6 games. Let's not forget at the Alamo Dome, Sean Elliott coming off of the cancer. I think it was his liver or kidney, came in, drained threes, and basically eliminating a chance Knicks had to steal that series. So maybe they're just thinking about, hey, Wemby in the Garden on Christmas. Maybe he'll put on a show, have a quadruple double, and have that first MSG magic. But I will say I agree with Ryan. San Antonio's going to be good this year. I mean, they have rookie of the year in Steven Castle. I think Devin Vassell is going to take the step, average in the 20s. And Wembanyama might be defensive player of the year this season. So I think they're going to be a team vying for a play-in spot. They'll be competitive. And by the time Christmas comes, I think it'll actually be a pretty solid game.
I agree. I mean, I agree that the Spurs are going to be better. Like it's funny because I heard Ian talk about the game and the first 10 games against winning teams. And he mentioned the Boston, he mentioned Cleveland, he mentioned Miami. I see Houston in those first 10 games. I'm not sleeping on Houston.
Nope.
I am not sleeping on Houston. Houston, I expect them to be pretty good this year too. I expect them to be fighting for a play-in spot or something too. I think the West is going to be even more of a bloodbath. But I'm definitely not overlooking Houston in those first 10 games for sure.
Agreed. Them and Orlando are 2 teams we do not match up well against. They both have a lot of versatility and stretch 5-ishness at the center position from multiple players. Jock Londell, Wendell Carter Jr. Those 2 teams are very similarly built. They have a mixture of vets, young guys, and I think having a lot of big size on the perimeter that can spread the floor is going to be something we're going to struggle with all season.
I agree until we end up trading Precious Achiuwa at the trade deadline for either Wendell Carter Jr. or Valen Jr. or something.
I agree. That's happening too.
Like I said, I do not believe for a second that Precious Achiuwa will be here in March.
I agree.
I don't see it.
Agreed.
I'd be shocked. Oh man, but salute to the chat, man. Shoot to Nick Yak, Cat Quest. Nick Yak says no one on the panel is giving Hercaporti to beat out Sims or 6'8" Precious Achiuwa not playing center but backup. No. I am not giving. I'm not predicting he's gonna beat out Precious or Sims for a few reasons. For one, rookies just don't get on the floor. I feel like Knicks fans in general, they expect the rookies to come in and just start playing in general, and that's never the case. Really, it's going to take a minimum. It's going to take a minimum games for rookies to even see playing time. Period. And people get upset, but we had the same argument every year. How come this rookie's not playing? How come Jacob Toppin's not playing? How come insert rookie's not playing? Like we're going for like a championship run, so I don't expect a lot of rookies to be playing. 2, like I said, Precious Achiuwa right now is a trade chip. So it would behoove us to play Precious Achiuwa minutes. Like I said, I don't expect him to be here past March or wherever the deadline is, the trade deadline, February, whatever. So for us to move him, he has to play, which is another reason why I don't expect him to play over Precious. Maybe after he's moved, I don't know. If Mitch is still injured, then maybe that'll be something to look at. But I just don't see it. I
think what people got to remember is, like you said, the Knicks are contending for a championship. So if any rookie is going to really make this team and get minutes, they would have to pretty much play out of their mind. You know what I mean? And the Knicks already have their set rotation. You know, the Knicks already know what guys they're going to use going into the season and things of that nature. So for somebody to break that rotation, they have to show something special for Thibs to actually be like, you know what, I'm going to insert this guy in the rotation and take this guy out. And to be honest, like all we know of this guy is what we saw in Summer League. And what I saw in Summer League, he's not ready yet to take Precious spot or Sim's spot or anybody who's going to be within that 9-10 man rotation, whatever number rotation Thibs decides to go with. So, you know, you have to take that into consideration as well. Like for these rookies to get playing time, they have to be like out of this world and force Thibs to actually consider moving somebody out of his rotation to put them in.
And trust is earned, and it takes a while.
Yeah.
For Thibs to trust. Like it takes one season of spot minutes and then another season of rotation into the bench rotation minutes for him to really trust you and make you a part of his 9-man when he eventually shrinks it. But sometimes he'll go 10 the first 2 months of the season and then tailor it out once he has a 9 that's really working. Yeah. Tibbs, go back to Chicago. Any year he has a team that he's coaching that is playoff contention, rookies are not playing. Yeah, when we're over here with Alec Burks at point guard, sure, maybe Emmanuel quickly did some burn, Obi Toppin did some burn, but typically, historically, Tom Thibodeau does not play rookies. And listen, I'm one of the biggest Tyler Tollett simps on the net. I am obsessed with this kid. He's an elite passer, and he will not see any meaningful minutes this season, and I don't expect him to, nor do I want him to, unless, God forbid, there's an emergency. But I let him get burned the G League. Same thing with the Hot 40. I really don't think any of these guys are going to be playing beyond injuries or, you know, maybe someone needs a rest or something like that to dare into the playoffs, but I don't see it otherwise.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it leads us to another question, though. Do you see anybody taking a leap this year or taking a jump this year?
Yes. Deuce McBride. I think Deuce is going to take the biggest jump of any Knick on the roster, and I think it's because of his role. I think playing with the bench, being solidified on the bench, not having to worry about starting, knowing his role and playing alongside other playmakers will allow him to finally show off that intermediate game, that mid-range game that we've been waiting for, whether it's a little teardrop or a push shot or it's a pull-up in the elbow. I think we're finally going to see that this season to make the offense even more creative and allow guys to have better driving lanes. I also think you're going to see his three-point shot become at a higher usage. So if he was shooting 4 threes a game, I think he'd go up to 5 or 6. I think he's really going to unload the clip because he proved it in the toughest stage in the playoffs, the NBA playoffs, the best basketball being played anywhere. He can hit a shot when it matters. I think you're going to see his trust go up by his teammates to get him the ball and to trust himself to shoot that thing when it lands in his hands. I see a point per game increase and an assist per game increase from Deuce McBride.
I feel like that's the only choice, really, to be honest with you. Because when you're going through the roster, like if you're going through a complete roster, I feel like everybody's points are going to go down.
Yep.
like from I feel like Jaylen Brunson had his best points per game as a Knick last season. I'd be shocked if he's number 4 in scoring in the NBA this season. Not because he's not capable, but he doesn't have to be. Like we needed him to do that last year. We're not going to need him to do that this year. So I feel like he's going to be back down to like 22, 23, 24. I feel like Randall might go down. I feel like everybody should be down points per game, and the efficiency should be up. That's the way I see it. As far as Deuce McBride goes, I still have a little bit of playmaking stock in Deuce McBride.
Same.
I still think I myself called him a shooting guard last year because he played like a shooting guard last year. But I think he's going to have a little bit more opportunity to run a little bit more point and expand that part of his game. So I maybe it's wishful thinking, but I hope to see more of that this season. I think he has that in him. He did have some nice passing instincts, but I think it's going to come a little bit easier now that he has the respect of a guy who can score off the dribble and shoot at the 3 as well. So I'm with you. I'm with you, Lee. Deuce McBride to me is the only obvious choice. Everybody else's production is going to go down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And while I do agree, I'm going to go out on a limb here. And this player is not necessarily a jump in production per se, but probably a jump in recognition. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say OG because I believe that with him being secure with his new contract and the pieces that he has around him and things of that nature, I believe if he can be healthy enough to where he can play at least can someone refresh my memory? What is the mark in the NBA for you to be eligible for awards? You have to play at least how many games in an NBA season? Somebody in the chat or somebody look that up for me right quick.
For awards, is it 65?
Yeah, I just want to think.
60s.
Yeah, like I don't know what the exact 65. Thank you, Fritz. And I believe that if OG can hit that 65 game mark and be that healthy throughout the whole season, I do see a Defensive Player of the Year award in his future if he can stay healthy enough to play 65 games in a season. And that's why I say a jump in recognition. Like I don't expect his scoring to go up or anything of that nature. But if he can play that many games in a season with his defensive prowess and the players that he's going to have around him who are also dogs on defense, I can see him getting a Defensive Player of the Year award in the future.
For sure. We should definitely have a top defense in the league for sure. Especially if Mitchell Robinson is healthy. Lord, I hope he's healthy. But I definitely agree. You know what? I'm gonna have another wild card. Somebody look at my stock that you sold me, Lee. Sims, damn it.
It's all yours, bro.
That's my wild card. My wild card is not that Sims is gonna have some magical season, but he'll get the respect of the fans this season. That's what I'll say. Like, you know what? He's playing pretty solid. You know what? He's hitting that floater. You know what? He's not missing those defensive rotations. I got my Sim stock. Let's go.
I'm selling to you dirt cheap.
That's fine. That's how we get rich, baby. We buy cheap, sell high.
I'm out. I love Ryan's comp there, OG. I think he can be Defensive Player of the Year. I think about Ron Artest in 04 with the Pacers. Was the last player that really reminded me of OG's game. Very similar in the way they score and the way they defend. And Ron Artest was able to win it as a perimeter player, only averaging like 16 points a game or 18 points a game or something like that. I think those are very easily attainable metrics for OG, and he already has defensive chops. It's just, as Ryan said, can you play enough? Not just to qualify, but also for the people watching the NBA abroad, like all teams, to say that guy really stands out as someone who lots down the best players on the opposing team.
Agreed. Hit him up, said somebody's getting traded. Might be Deuce Precious or Mitch. Hey, hit him up. I'm gonna help you out. It's gonna be Precious, right? It's gonna be Precious.
Agreed.
Came over. All right. All right. You know what I also want to get to? Something happened while we was out. And big news, not big news, but big news. The Knicks officially named Jaylen Brunson a captain. And they had people in the building during his captain ceremony. You know, they had Patrick Ewing there because he's an ex-captain, which is great. He's wondering, I was wondering where Lance Thomas was. I was like, why didn't Lance Thomas get the invite? Lance Thomas was the captain. You know what I'm saying? So, like, why did
Swiss Army knife?
Huh?
The Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, the Swiss Army, like the Knick great Lance Thomas didn't get the invite to the captain ceremony, the last captain. I don't understand that. But well, Jaylen Brunson gets the C, and it's well deserved, and he gives a speech, and he just reminds us of why he is the captain in the first place. He talks about sacrifice. And then he literally puts his money, well, not literally, but figuratively puts his money where his mouth is and talks about how he took less money to set an example, and he wants his team to be together for long periods of time. And he calls this place home, and all the Knicks fans, including me, shed like a little thug tear. I feel great about this decision. This is our captain. He definitely represents us, and he personifies that with his sacrifice on the court and in his pockets. So salute to Jaylen Brunson. for the Knicks for being named captain, first captain since the late Lance Thomas. All right.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. And I've been wanting to talk about this, and there's not really a platform to do so where you can have some back and forth, not just with you guys, but with the chat. It was a great return to classiness for the Knicks, especially fans of like my age, our age in general, where we were a little bit too young to fully appreciate the 90s or didn't watch it at all, in my case, and have really known James Dolan misery ever since. And Knicks have been a punching bag. This was a nice signal to optics out to the rest of the world that the Knicks are back. Not just back competitively, but we're back to being a type of organization where when we do things, people pay attention and it matters, and we keep the fan base in mind in all the things that we do publicly and behind closed doors. And it really made me feel like, damn, like having Patrick Ewing narrate, that's the type of thing that us as Knicks fans are like, man, wouldn't it be cool if they had a video? Who should narrate it? Obviously, Patrick Ewing.
Right.
The Knicks have an understanding.
Yeah.
They reach out to him. They pull him into the fold. And the writing of that felt very original and authentic to have someone who watched little Jaylen Brunson run around in between players' legs, grab rebounds and pass it out during practice. This was a kid who really was a part of the identity of the team, was behind the scenes. And Ewing was recognizing and acknowledging their relationship and how far back it goes. That Ewing, a former leader, someone who took the Knicks to the very gates of Valhalla, recognizes greatness in somebody else in Jaylen Brunson. I thought it was really beautiful. And during a time where everyone was watching the Olympics, but Knicks were like, hey, I know all eyes are on Paris right now, but New York is saying we are a championship. And these are type of things that championship teams do, is recognize who is a leader. So there's no dispute in the locker room, on the floor, who takes that final shot, who makes that final play call, and who can chew people out when they need to. It's not Randall, it's not Tibbs, it's not Lance Thomas Jr., it's Jaylen Brunson, and we're all better for that.
Create that hierarchy. Definitely create that hierarchy. And it's like, he's not just born to play basketball. He was born to be a Knick, right? That's what Bryant said. Yeah, he said he got it right. So I like it comes full circle, and it's funny because there was a time when Fizdale was here, and we were all hyped about Fizdale, and he was a horrible coach. He was an extremely horrible coach. The one thing he did do right though when he was here was he constantly brought old Knicks back into the fold and have him talk to the players and integrated them back into the Knicks organization. And it means that much more that's happening now while we have a winning culture, that they're bringing back Marbury, they're bringing back old Knicks. They have Patrick Ewing narrate the coaching ceremony. Like that, it means a lot more now just because of we're winning and the culture is set, and it seems like we're in the upward trajectory. So kudos for the Knicks for capitalizing on the moment and setting that hierarchy, the signal to the rest of the NBA that like, hey, this is our captain and we got our stuff together, man. Like, we here right now. Beautiful moment.
Facts. And it's hard to follow up, Lee's beautiful soliloquy about Jaylen becoming captain and what Jaylen just said. So I'm just gonna end it by just saying this. If I could just do this correctly, right quick. Congrats, Jaylen. Well deserved.
Yeah.
Oh,
that was amazing. Oh my God.
Yo.
Okay.
Oh, all-time Ryan moment.
Damn. Okay, man. Yo, that was one of those Knicks Twitter, Instagram inside jokes that if you missed it, you missed it. If you get it, it's hilarious. Why is OG? Is it like, what the funny thing is? I feel like OG, to me, his persona is like a Geek Squad guy, but he doesn't know how to work his phone, and it's confusing to me. I'm not even part of Geek Squad, and you can't work your phone. I don't understand.
Oh man!
Like, doesn't he have commercials with like computer tech company? Like, he gives me tech support, but I don't know. That's
He does.
Oh man.
OG definitely looks like dude at my job who helps me install apps because he had the administrator password. Like he definitely.
Man, the season hasn't even started. We're already getting classic Ryan moments, bro. Damn, that turned me red, man. That was hilarious.
Oh man.
Oh man. Oh yeah. Shout out
Chat
to
going
OG.
crazy.
Shout out to OG. Shout out to OG. Man.
Fact.
Anything else you guys want to touch on before we wrap it up?
Hmm.
Shout
Well,
out to Thibodeau.
Huh?
The extension for Tom Thibodeau. Much deserved. I
Oh,
think
we never
yes.
talked about the
team is finally leaning into continuity. I'm sure there's going to be one for Leon Rose coming up shortly as well that will probably mirror and slightly extend Tibbs, maybe another 4-year, or I hope 5-year. He's doing everything right, in my opinion. I love what his first couple of moves I remember. Like the very first things he did, he brought Walt Perrin and Brock Howard. And those are two things he's never been known for. Being able to utilize a cap and not give his worst contracts in the NBA and also be able to draft and develop. Those are two things we never focused on. And I think Leon Rose, I've said this so many times, being the agent of Eddie Curry, being the agent of Carmelo Anthony, Andre Bargnani, this was key for him to see behind the scenes how this team operated, knowing that this was a team that got fleeced so often by so many over-the-hill passer prime players that he's like, you know what? Now I'm at the Knicks, the monochrome, the standard for how contracts are given out to build a championship roster. Yo, man, all shout out to Don, all shout out Tom Thibodeau, all deserved across the board.
2 questions I have. The years. Tom Thibodeau got 3 years. Right? Close to 30 million. Did anybody expect him to be longer? I thought he was going to be later on 4. He got 3 years. Did anybody foresee another year or so? And 2, one of the things that made me go, Tom Thibodeau gives an extension. Johnny Bryant dips. Are the 2 related? Because in my mind, I kind of felt like I feel like there was this thing where everybody felt like Johnny Bryant was next in line. And there was a time where Tom Thibodeau was on a hot seat and it was looking kind of spooky for him. And then he kind of rises from the ashes. The Knicks go on this historic run and now he's extended. Johnny Bryant leaves. He doesn't really leave for another head coaching position. He leaves for another assistant position, which is kind of peculiar to me. I kind of feel like he expected a changing of the guard to happen and it didn't happen. And then he's like, oh, he's extended 3 years. It's not going to happen for me here, so I'm going to dip. So let me try to go somewhere else where I can maybe have another chance of being a head coach somewhere else, even if it's not in the immediate future, the near future. That's just a theory. Could be totally off base, but was anybody else thinking that or agree with me? Or that's what I was thinking.
You want to go first, Ryan?
Yeah, it's just difficult for me to like really get to that point in his reasoning as to why he left, because I don't know the terms of his contract. Like, I don't know if he was out of contract. I don't know how many years he had left on his contract or whatever the case may be as an assistant coach on the Knicks. And then on top of that, in Cleveland, I know he has a good relationship with Donovan Mitchell as well. So I don't know if it's I don't know if it's because he feels like, with Cleveland just hiring Kenny Atkinson as a coach that, that coaching job may be available quicker than Thibs in New York, or if he thought that, he would have eventually got the coaching job with the Knicks, and then seeing Thibs get that extension, he's like, okay, now I gotta, go to my next my next destination, whatever the case may be. But I think I honestly, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, really. I mean, there's just so many different factors, to look at and things of that nature. I think I could make a more accurate, like, I guess, more accurate, like, thinking about what happened if I knew like his contract situation. Like, I think that's like the missing piece. Like, if I knew his contract situation, I would be able to more tell, what his thinking might have been behind the decision making of leaving the Knicks and going to the Cleveland Cavaliers as a assistant coach.
Understood.
I think it was obvious that um, Johnny Bryant was hired to be next in line after Tibbs' contract ended or after, a subsequent extension. And yeah, I absolutely think the two are connected. I think once he saw that his future here was very minimal in terms of expediency on when he would get the head coaching opportunity, I think he just went to a team that he felt familiar with, a team that has a coach that has a bad track record of not being able to sustain a job in Kenny Atkinson. And I think it's very, very clear that in 2 years, if he hasn't taken them further than his predecessor, he's probably going to be out the door as well. And then that'll be his opportunity to be a head coach and to coach his favorite player and Donovan Mitchell and have some familiarity there as well. And let's be honest, Tom Thibodeau's entire staff is a bunch of cronies that have been with him since Chicago, from Dice Yashimoto to what's that guy, Larry something. Like, he just has these four bums that follow him everywhere, right? And listen, I'm sure we do a lot of good in the organization. I'm sure we help out all of our players, but it's his crew, and they came with him. And Johnny Bryan was always an outlier there. He's after Mike Woodson and them left. So, I think he was the odd man out, especially when you hire Mo Cheats, another really seasoned vet. You bring a guy to be the big man coordinator. What's his role? What's his voice? It's a lot of Chiefs and not enough Indians. I think when you have Tom Thibodeau as your head coach, you need nothing but Indians. No Chiefs. It's Tibbs' way or the highway. So it made sense for both parties. I wish Johnny Bryan luck, but it does pose another question now. When Tibbs retires, who takes over? Because Mo Cheats is old too. I don't know who it's going to be. I hope it's not one of Larry Greer or Dice Yashimoto. Please no.
I mean, maybe it is Cheeks. I don't know. Pause. I couldn't help it. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. I mean, we did hire Cheeks. We also hired another coach. We hired Mark Bryan as well. I don't expect him to be a head coach, but
Right.
that's somebody to look at. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on the Mark Bryan hire.
I mean, I don't really know a lot about him, but for what I've read, he does seem like he does seem like he works well with big men. He's good at developing big men. So, you just hope that he can do something for Mitch, Sims, Precious, guys like down the roster to help, up their game a bit. So, I mean, from what I've read, he's a pretty good big man coach from what I read. Yeah.
I think it was definitely there for Sims in a make or break season. I think if Sims doesn't show any improvement, he might be out the NBA. I don't know if another team would put a flyer on him, maybe a two-way, but I can't see him getting a guaranteed contract if he doesn't improve from what he was last season, which was kind of a down year in his progression and evolution. Like Jo said, I'm out on Sims, but I think Mark Bryan was someone who was brought in primarily to see what can he untap with Sims, and then also to groom Hot Porty in the future. 2 or 3 years from now, to get him in the same regiment, practicing against Mitchell Robinson and really trying to make him someone who can hit free throws, pass in a short roll, and maybe have like a push shot or some type of hook shot around the rim. Things that we never really got from Mitch, but hopefully we get from Sims or Hot Porty.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with all statements made. Knicks have to retool. It seems like we're retooling. It's funny. I feel like we lost all the coaches that we love. They're kind of going now. And I feel like Bryant was probably the last holdover of the assistant coaches where we just didn't want them to go and end up leaving. From Woody to Kenny Payne to Bryant now. So it's not time for that new stock. I also thought about Julius Randle too, because Julius Randle really seemed to respond to Bryant more than anybody else. So when he left, I was like, damn it. I was like, oh man, hope somebody else has that rapport with Randle to kind of calm him down too. But that's another thing I thought about too. But good kudos point to Knicks hires in Maurice Cheeks and Mark Bryant.
Yeah.
All right, Jaylen. All right, all right, all right. Anything else you guys have on your mind? I think we talked about everything. Got it off our chest. All right. All right, all right, all right. You can wrap it up here. Lee Escobedo, Lion Assassin. Let them know where they can find you, sir.
At Twitter at _ LEEESCOBEDO. Today's book club. I bought this yesterday when it came out, and I tore through it last night. It's called Future by Tommy Masturi. It's a psychedelic, surrealist comic book / graphic novel that basically just dives into where do we come from, who are we, and what does it mean of life in gorgeous, saturated color, unbelievable illustrations. He takes on a variety of styles and really hits it out the park on every single style. Unbelievable master, published by my favorite independent comic line, Fantagraphics. Came out this year. Cop it for $40 at your nearest comic book store. Really incredible stuff. Highly recommended to enjoy it while indulging in flowers, roses, and petunias. Whatever your whatever your vice is. This is a great book. Again, Future.
Nice. Pretty cool. Do I have any? Do I have any anime recommendations? My sister had me in the Crunchyroll recently. She had me in the Crunchyroll for like I said, like for people who don't know, like I was like the anime guy in my family. And then my sister, who my mom calls my younger twin, she was kind of like a little bit into it, and now she's like totally surpassed me to the point where she puts me on it. It's like it's a whole nother level. He watches even like the weird ones, like how to make like romance ones and girly ones, and how to make cookies, or all types of anime. It's just stuff that don't even make sense. I don't know. Stuff that don't even make sense. But she was putting me on to something called what is it called? What is it called? Like Escape Samurai, or I feel like I'm messing up the name. It's a story about a kid whose like family pretty much gets murdered. Like a lot of anime type of stories where it's almost like revenge type of deal. Yeah. But he's learning how to become a king, and he finds his power through escaping. It's an interesting story. But that's what I've been watching lately. That's kind of a little bit interesting. So far it's all right. I wouldn't super high recommend it. So far it's okay. So far so good. There's a couple of cool fight scenes. I'm kind of mulling my way through it. We'll see how. If I really recommend it in a few weeks, I'll really tell you. But that's what I'm watching. All right, cool. My anime review. You got.
As for me, I ain't got no damn review, but y'all can follow me on Instagram at Sir G is chilling.
Sir G is chilling.
That's SIRG is CHILLI, and you can also find me on Twitter at RyanGKOT.
That's right. Oh man. Oh, what's coming back on? Yo. You know what? I'll say that for later. That's the show. Thank you guys for watching. And as always,
shout out the worldwide west. Everywhere we go, we leave a worldwide mess.
It's a mess out here, these Knicks YouTube streets. That's the show. We out of here.
Peace.
New York, big city of dreams. New York, big city of dreams.